ladies and gentlemen. This is what's something on my lip. I've been eating donuts. Anyway, so you know who I am. I'm Greg, and this is going to be a book review. I had which put me onto this book. It's called "Of Blood and Bones" by Freuler. This is what it looks like. Working with shadow magic and the dark moon. Now, about the physical properties of this book, even though it looks nice on the outside, when I first got it, some of the pages fell out, like the first chapter. So the binding is garbage. But what's really more important to me is the knowledge that's inside the book. So I would say that this book is directed towards beginners, and that can be people who have been practicing, who are looking to get out of that love and light mindset and actually become more balanced by dealing with darkness and negativity. Or it can be for people who are new and they tend to be drawn to the dark and they're just starting, and this gives a more balanced perspective on using darkness and dealing with negative aspects, or what people would call negative, feelings and stuff in your magic. I like this because the author explains how we have to deal with our negative aspects so that they don't overwhelm us and become out of control. It's like letting pressure off instead of letting it build up until it explodes. And how she addresses the fact that, there's a lot of love and light and right-handed kind of thinking within the New Age community and within the mainstream books and stuff like that. And it's really not, it's not right, because as witches, we need to understand our history, where a lot of the magic comes from. Personally, in order to have an appreciation of the magic, you have to understand why and how the magic came about. For example, with voodoo in the States, a lot of that was a way for slaves to defend themselves against their masters, when they couldn't lash out physically. It was a way of coping with very hard times. And so people nowadays are going to see some things done in voodoo as negative, and they may look at it as a practice that either shouldn't be done or, shouldn't be trusted and everything like that. But they don't have an appreciation of the culture it came from and why it came about. This book doesn't talk about that, but I'm drawing from other things that I've read. I do like this book in the sense that it's very good at guiding somebody who may be starting out. For me, a lot of it was just refresher. There wasn't really much that was new to me. However, there were a lot of things in the book that were useful. How to clean bones properly. Some of the recipes that are personally hers, were new to me. And so it's a good way of, using new magic spells and seeing if they work. When it starts out, I like the way that it talks about if you're not ready to work with a deity, you can still work with the energies of the moon. You don't necessarily have to take on a deity. but she also does give examples of different deities that would be good working at night, like Hecate. And she also mentions Santa Muerte. And I really respect that because a lot of people see Santa Muerte as a saint that deals with, drug dealers, criminals. Hollywood has really spun her in a negative light. And even though she may be a difficult entity to deal with, she is not necessarily negative. And there is a lot of good that you can actually do with Santa Muerte. All right, so another thing that I like that this author addressed is that before you start doing dark magic, she has a whole section where you dealing with your inner self first and getting to a point where you're mature enough to figure out when you need to curse and hex somebody or what kind of magic you need to use in what situation. And I feel like a lot of people don't cover this in their spirituality. They see problems. Sometimes they blame other people for their problems. And so they'll hex those people or curse those people. But in reality, it's themselves that is creating the problem. And so you see a lot of, I guess, immature witches, and they go through the same stuff. And then they curse these people and stuff like that. And they're stuck in a cycle. They're stuck in a cycle. And so, from the way she creates this book, like writes this book, I feel like it's from a very mature perspective. She does very well of listing different things that will help with the magic, such as crystals, deities. What else does she have here? She talks about what different animals represent when you're using dead animal material. And she goes very in depth with, I wouldn't say very in depth, but like she explains it very well, like what everything is used for and how to utilize them in certain spells. And I appreciate the way that she really formatted this book. She goes deep into poppets. And she talks about sacrifice. And a lot of people are very squeamish about talking about this. But we all have to accept the fact that human sacrifice was something that occurred. And it still occurs today, just in different ways. If you look at the government and war, sends people to their deaths all the time. That's sacrifice. Yet nobody blinks an eye, bats an eye about that. They're like, oh, I'm so proud, But when it's in the context of witchcraft, then it's a bad thing. And that makes no sense. But she talks about how if you're going to give something up as a sacrifice, you have to think the thing that you are sacrificing. You have to treat the thing that you are sacrificing almost, as royalty. When they talk about animals, she gives the example that animals that were meant for sacrifice were taken very well care of before the sacrificial ritual. But she also gives an alternative with plant life. You can sacrifice plants instead of animals because plant life is still life. But she also specifies that you have to put time into this plant. Like it has to be something that you grow and put your energy into and care for and care about. Because if it isn't, then the sacrifice is not going to be a sacrifice because it's going to be meaningless. And I really like that, how you can have a substitution. What other points? Was there anything else I want to point out? There was a part of the book where she talks about graveyards and how you have to be respectful Um, I feel like there are some witches out there who, you know, don't leave offerings. For example, when I go into a graveyard, if I have it, I try to leave 9 pennies as an offering, especially if I'm gonna collect grave dirt. Um, I'm not the type of person to bring food to dead people, but I still try to respect them in some way. If I use their energy, I always ask permission, like, hey, do you want to come home with me? Do you want to be a spirit that works with me, work at my altar? And I believe that's very important because I don't believe in forcing spirits to do anything. So that was a good thing that she pointed out, respect. And respect is a big thing in magic. Whether you're dealing with spirits, whether you're dealing with other witches, it gets you a long way, a long way. And it doesn't matter how powerful you are, doesn't matter what kind of title you have. If you don't have any respect, you're not really going to get too far. And I believe that's all I have to say about the book. Very good book for beginners. I do recommend it for everybody who's looking to get into the darkness, doesn't know where to start. And just know that darkness isn't necessarily negative, but you have to realize that as witches, like, we have to have some kind of backbone. You know, she mentions in the book how she started off as one of those witches who, I think she was into Wicca, and she was all about love and light and stuff like that, and all about healing and not cursing and the threefold law and stuff like that. But then she says, as she started living life, she realized that some situations require action. And then she kind of balanced out and realized, yeah, sometimes you got to hex somebody, sometimes you have to curse somebody in order to stop negative situations. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because those types of actions, when used in a mature way, can lead to positive outcomes. And that's really the question you have to ask yourself is, why am I doing this? Am I doing this just to hurt somebody? Or am I doing this with a purpose? Am I doing this just to stop somebody? There are levels of cursing and hexing. Like, you don't have to kill people. You don't have to hurt people. But you can do things to keep them away from you, to stop them from distracting you from your work. And, there are ways to protect your family without having to harm people. Okay. So I hope everybody's doing good. I'm still reading a lot of books, still working on the Violet Throne, still working on the Hekateon, still working through the Shem HaMephoresh book, dealing with the different 72 angels. And I'm also looking to get into other stuff. I'm trying not to get overwhelmed, but there's a lot of good stuff that's happening, working through the books. I'm getting a lot of good information, and what I want to do is just have time to kind of process the information that I am receiving from different spirits in order to present it in the best way to the subscribers and any other people who would come upon my channel and be an audience. So, I know, like, I don't drop a video every week. I ask for you to be patient. It's just that I want to do my best to present the information to people who are watching, so that it can help them evolve spiritually or direct them to the path that they're meant for. I hope everybody's doing good. I've had a lot of people talking to me recently and stuff. I really enjoy it. Asking for my opinion on things. I really appreciate it. I'm flattered that you guys would come to me and ask me for, guidance. And I hope everybody, you know, um, is doing well. Because I feel like right now is a time where people can prosper. A lot of people that I've been talking to have been setting goals and achieving goals. A lot of people have been wanting to become more spiritual or deepen their spirituality, and they have been doing that. And so now is the perfect time to work your magic, to watch things come into fruition, and to complete any goals that you have. So go for it. Go get it. I'll talk to you later. Be easy.